The jet's burning wings scraped the black surface of the ocean like a screaming comet, and as the explosion lit up the sky, the world seemed to tear apart around Ethan Ward. The single dad janitor stood frozen on the old pier for half a second, staring at the Navy training jet sinking nose first into the churning water. Then he saw the silhouette of a man struggling against the foam and fire. His heart slammed against his ribs, old instincts waking up like ghosts he had sworn he'd buried. He didn't shout. He didn't think. Ethan kicked off his worn boots, dove into the freezing water, and swam toward the sinking jet as the flames hissed around him. Every muscle burned, every old scar screamed, but the drowning officer's hand was slipping beneath the surface, and Ethan refused to let another life disappear under his watch. Not again. If you believe in kindness, sacrifice, and second chances, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to channel name. It truly helps keep stories like this alive. Ethan had lived silently for years, working night shifts as a janitor at the docks, raising his 10-year-old daughter Lily with the gentlest love he could muster. To the world, he was just the quiet guy who swept floors and fixed what others broke. But to Lily, he was a superhero, even if Ethan himself felt more like a ghost drifting through life. After losing his wife in a crash years ago, and after leaving the military under painful circumstances he never talked about, Ethan avoided anything that could pull him back to the man he used to be. That night was supposed to be another routine shift: mop the floors, check the storage units, pick up Lily from the neighbor's house, and go home to their small apartment with peeling paint and a warm lamp waiting by the window. But fate didn't care about routine when it sent that jet spiraling out of the sky. The water clawed at Ethan as he reached the pilot, a Navy officer barely conscious, his flight suit soaked and dragging him down. The jet sank fast, pulling debris with it, the suction threatening to take them both. Ethan grabbed the man's vest, kicked with desperate strength, and pushed away from the sinking wreck. His lungs burned like fire, his vision flickered, but the thought of Lily waiting for him kept him going. Breaking the surface felt like being reborn, and he dragged the officer toward the splintered pier, his arms trembling with exhaustion. By the time emergency teams arrived, Ethan stood shivering, soaked in jet fuel and salt water, while the rescued officer was rushed into a helicopter. No one asked for Ethan's name. No one knew what he had done. He preferred it that way. Ethan went home in silence, carrying Lily in his arms when she sleepily opened the door. He held her tighter than usual, breathing in the scent of her hair, grateful that he was still alive. He didn't tell her what happened. He never wanted her to see the world as violent or cruel. That night, as she drifted to sleep, Ethan stared at the ceiling and whispered a quiet confession only the darkness could hear: "I can't go back. I won't let my past follow me." But the past wasn't asking for permission. At dawn, the rumble shook their entire street. Windows trembled. Dogs barked. People peeked out from behind curtains with wide, startled eyes. When Ethan stepped outside, heart pounding, he saw them, 5 military Humvees rolling down his narrow neighborhood road, matte black and intimidating, each one stopping directly in front of his old building. Soldiers stepped out, forming a respectful but stern formation. Ethan froze, every instinct screaming to run, to hide, to protect Lily. His chest tightened as memories he'd buried deep rose like floodwater. Then the Navy captain stepped out. He wasn't the officer Ethan had saved, but he recognized the uniform, the authority, and the unmistakable expression of someone searching for a man who didn't want to be found. Ethan felt dozens of eyes on him, neighbors whispering, children pointing, Lily clinging to his hand in confusion. He swallowed hard, unsure if he was about to be thanked or punished. Unsure if his identity had finally caught up to him after years of hiding in the ordinary. The captain approached with slow, grounded steps. His face wasn't stern, it was humbled. Waited. He extended a hand that trembled slightly, not from fear, but from gratitude. And then Ethan heard the words he least expected: "The officer you saved last night is my son." He said a guardian angel pulled him from the ocean. "We traced the rescue back to you. Ethan tried to shake his head, to downplay, to fade into the background as he always did. But the captain wasn't here for ceremony or headlines. He stepped aside, revealing the injured officer leaning on crutches, bruised but alive, his eyes filled with something Ethan recognized instantly: respect. Deep, bone-deep respect. The officer told the gathered crowd that Ethan's bravery not only saved his life but prevented a classified system in the jet from being lost to the ocean. Without Ethan's intervention, the consequences could have been catastrophic. The Navy had come not to expose him, but to honor him. Ethan felt his throat tighten as Lily squeezed his hand and whispered, "Dad, you're a hero." The word hit him harder than any explosion or storm ever had. But the moment that truly broke Ethan's walls came when the captain stepped closer and revealed that they knew about Ethan's former service, how he had left the military after an incident that wasn't his fault, yet he carried the guilt like a shadow. They told him he had been cleared years ago, that directives changed, that the truth had finally surfaced. He wasn't running from a stain anymore. He had never been the failure he thought he was. As the morning sun painted gold across the cracked pavement, Ethan felt something inside him loosen, a weight sliding off his shoulders after years of suffocating silence. The Navy offered him a position, not just as a thank you, but because they believed he had more to give. They offered benefits, stability, medical support for Lily, and a chance for him to return with dignity. The neighbors who once ignored him stared in awe at the man they'd underestimated for so long. Lily's eyes shone with pride so pure it felt like a blessing he didn't deserve. Even then, Ethan hesitated, not out of fear, but out of humility. He didn't want glory. He only wanted to raise his daughter with love, safety, and honesty. But Lily tugged on his sleeve and whispered, "Dad, maybe this is Mommy's way of helping us." The world spun quieter then, softer. Ethan knelt, hugged her with trembling arms, and finally allowed himself to accept the truth he had avoided for years. Maybe he wasn't broken. Maybe he wasn't running. Maybe life was giving him a second chance to be the man he once hoped to be. And as he lifted his head, the officer he had saved stepped forward and uttered words that echoed in the hearts of everyone present: "Heroes don't always wear uniforms. Sometimes they wear janitor boots and carry their world on their shoulders." The 5 Humvees didn't just arrive with soldiers, they arrived with redemption. They arrived with closure. They arrived with a doorway to a future Ethan had never believed he deserved. And when he finally said yes, when he finally accepted the recognition not for himself but for